Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Simon. How are you?
Morning, Frank.
We're very well. How's it going over there in that part of the world? Wrocław, I think, in Poland. It's looking good. I think the stadium fight is going to be enormous as far as we gather.
It is. It's a 44,000 seat stadium, and it's going to be obviously full of Ukrainians. There won't be too many Brits here. So Daniel's going into the Lion's Den, but he's in a good frame of mind at the moment.
I mean, his trainer was in this very studio, Don Charles, and quite rightly talking up Daniel's chances, Frank, saying to us, one thing Daniel can do is he's a puncher, and he is as quick as hell. So he is the man, according to Don Charles, who more than any other at this particular time can give Usyk problems.
I think he's more than a puncher. He's got a great jab. He's actually quite fast, and you know, he's in a, as I say, most important is, I just said, he's in a great frame of mind, and that's, for me, is 90% of it. Mentally, for him, it's 90% of it. And if he stays how he is, he's going to have a great chance of pulling this off, and I genuinely believe he will do.
Frank, Jim just billed it in the opening in a lot of people's minds as an impossible task. I don't think it's an impossible task. I think it's a difficult task. But if he's able to do it, Frank, how do you envisage he's able to execute?
Well, I mean, for me, what he needs to do what Anthony Joshua didn't do, which he needs to use his physical attributes. He needs to be on the front foot. He needs to work off his jab. I don't want him going looking for big shots. I want him to work off his jab, relax, and work his way into the fight, and he'll find those big punches will come. And he's capable of doing that. There's no doubt about it. And as for upsets, you know, this is a conversation I remember quite a few years ago when Tyson Fury was going to fight Klitschko, who was the best of his generation, and he was a massive underdog according to everybody. So, you know, there are the upsets in some people's minds happen. For me, I don't think it'd be an upset. I think he has a great chance of pulling it off.
I mean, I think a lot of people are suggesting, Frank, that his best chance... I mean, they're all saying the same thing as you, which is that his physicality and the very manner in which Anthony Joshua didn't fight him in the first fight is the way that he has to fight him now. But the preparedness to jump on him early and to impose himself upon Usyk is the key component. You're saying something slightly different. You're saying that he has to wait for his opportunity, and when it's there, take it. Is that right, or have I misunderstood that?
No, I think you misunderstood me. What I'm saying is that as soon as that first bell goes, he's got to take the centre of the ring, and he's got to be on the offensive. But I don't want him going and having just going out there and throwing bombs. I want him to go out there and work behind his jab and be measured and be sensible, like he has been in a lot of the fights where he stopped people. That's what he needs to do. Nothing different than that. That's what he needs to do. He's in with a very, very good fighter who's probably the best of his generation at cruiserweight. He's had 5 fights, I think now, 4 or 5 fights at heavyweight. But all the guys he's fought have all been older men. None of them been in their 20s. They've all been older guys. He's fighting a young guy who's a hungry fighter. That's what he's got in front of him now.
Frank, is there a rematch clause in the contract? And if not, what does the pathway look like for Daniel should he upset the apple cart and win tomorrow night?
Well, there isn't a rematch clause in there because it's a mandatory defence, and whoever wins the fight will go on and fight and challenge Tyson in a unification match.
That would be next. Right, I'm with you. Okay, so I mean, so much at stake for Dubois.
That will happen. That will happen.
That will change the landscape dramatically, won't it, Frank? Because it will put you in the box seat.
Well,
because so you'll have a big grin on your face if Daniel wins this fight, even more than you would start with in the first place, because you will then have the unification of the two fighters under your jurisdiction to some extent.
Listen, mate, I'll out Cheshire the Cats if he comes through, and I believe he will do. But the bottom line is, whatever the result is, there will be a unification match early next year.
I mean, the big worry must be that really meaningful fight that's happening in October against Ngannou, because we must be very worried about Tyson coming through that one, Frank.
No, not at all. It is. Listen,
I'm being facetious.
I've said to you all along. I know you are, you silly son. But I'm telling you, it will be a huge event. It will be a huge event. And I'll tell you why it'll be a huge event. Because Tyson, like I've been telling you, is a massive box office attraction. That's why my argument all along was what his worth is. And his worth is shown each time he gets involved in different aspects of entertainment. For example, the Netflix, it's #1 show. It's the #1 show on Netflix. He is the #1 attraction on a channel that has 500 million subscribers. 3 books he's done, all went to #1. As I said to you, last year he broke the box office records for Wembley and so forth.
Frank, that might be great. I mean, well done. Frank, well done with Netflix and everything else, but all everybody wanted to see was Tyson fighting Usyk.
Oh, what? So those people on Netflix don't want to see it then?
No, I presume they do, but
they don't want to see Tyson.
As far as I gather about the Netflix thing, Simon and I are on it more than furious.
Right. Well, let me just tell you something. When that show's on, when that event is on, with Ngannou, it's going to be huge. And you can then tell me afterwards, if it doesn't do numbers, you can tell me it was a failure.
Oh no, Frank, we all know that commercially it's going to be wonderful. But there's this wonderful YouTube kid called Bippy that's doing these videos. It's made him a billionaire. He gets 400 million views doing kids shows, but it doesn't alter the landscape that we're talking about. Tyson, we're wanting to see him in the next big fight. So what we're hoping is that this Ngannou situation that you've engineered, and well done you for structuring deals that open different gateways, that gets everyone a big wheelbarrow of money, then moves on to the proper business in hand, which is the grown-up fights that we want.
Well, if he'd have been available and he'd have stepped up, we'd have put the fight on. But as I told you all along, he wasn't available. And if you'd have watched the BT round table, you would have seen. And what I've been saying all along, there have been no offers. We're the only ones who've made offers. But anyway, that's all past now. The fight will take place tomorrow. Whoever wins that, and I believe it'll be Daniel, but if it's the other guy, he will face Tyson next year. Early next year.
So, Frank, if Usyk wins it then, are you going to make Fury Usyk?
We will make it next year. Early next year.
I mean, it's just that some of the things, having gone from being Tyson's 2 big chums, Simon and myself, I don't think we're going to be invited around for coffee anytime soon, round at the Furies. And then this week, we see John Fury making a bit of a meal of it at the press conference for KSI and Tommy. I mean, you're never really too sure what you're going to get when any of the Furies crop up anywhere at this moment.
Well, that's not true at all. I mean, I don't know about that, and it's nothing to do with me. I'm no involvement in it. The situation with Tyson, you get what he wants to do, and that's fight. And it's not his fault. But you, Jim, and Simon at times have said that it's his fault that the fight didn't take place with Usyk, which is totally untrue.
I don't think we ever said that, Frank.
That's why I get annoyed with you. You keep saying, why don't he go in?
Oh, well, that's the question.
You have, Jim.
Well, that's the question, but we don't have the information
but
as
you
to why
answer
it's
the
not
question.
happening.
Well, you just said they don't. That the Furies don't do certain things. Well, Tyson hasn't. All Tyson wanted to do was fight.
No, but I mean, we were all getting a bit bored, Frank, by Tyson appearing in various videos saying huge announcement coming soon, this, that, and the next, $500 million, whatever, and then the short change of nothing happened.
Well, the short change of nothing happens because at the end of the day, they didn't want to do the fight. We agreed to terms, and then they changed their minds, saying there was a couple of things they were unhappy with, which were just rubbish.
But you anticipate now, Frank, that landscape's going to change. You anticipate there's going to be a sea change in those people's attitudes. By the way, Frank, you're wrong. No one said that's Tyson's fault. What I've said is Tyson's difficult to deal with, and the reasons why he's difficult to deal with is because he's always opening his mouth at inopportune moments and saying things that are unnecessary.
Hang on, what dealings have you had with him? Sorry, that's not true. What dealings have you had with him?
What I'm saying is I'm basing it upon his reaction and his outlook and his disposition and the way he projects himself. I've seen him come on the shows. So it's not about dealings, Frank. It's about the observation that he's difficult to deal with because of the manner in which he conducts himself. I'm basing it upon his outlook and his output. Not my commercial dealings with him.
I think you're wrong on both. On all, well, you haven't any, so you couldn't say that.
That's fair enough.
I can say it because I have commercial dealings with him. And secondly, you're talking about his outlook. All he wanted to do was fight Usyk, and he made an offer to Joshua to fight him, who didn't take the offer. That's a fact of life. 60-40, you can have it. Let's get it on. And he didn't want to do the fight.
And that's fine, Frank, but it doesn't alter the fact
what is wrong with that? That's a man who wants to fight. That's a man who wants to fight.
So let's move on from the observation that I've made, which I think is not unfair that he's difficult to deal with, but not impossible to deal with, because lots of people are difficult to deal with. And on to the next step, which is, what's the sea change then? What's the sea change in everyone's attitude? Because it's everybody else it's not Tyson, right? And let's say that's fair. What's going to change in the immediate future? Because we've got this fight in October, which is an economically valuable fight, but credibility-wise is zero. And you've got a landscape of Fury, of Usyk, of Joshua, of maybe Dubois. What's going to change that's subsequently going to go, everyone, wonderful, he's now fighting all these fighters that he said he was going to fight?
Well, I think that works both ways, doesn't it? We want all the other guys to keep saying they're going to make these fights too. The fights will happen. There, as I said to you a while ago, it's a game changer. What is happening is a game changer, and it will be a game changer after this fight in October. You will see, and the fights that everybody wants to see will happen. I'm telling you, it will happen. I'm telling you. Where I've always said to you all along, until it's signed, it doesn't mean anything. The fight will happen.
But you do accept, whether you get belligerent about it or not, Frank, that if Tyson Fury goes out telling people that, and I think your job is quite difficult with him, but if he's going to go tell people that I'm going to have 10 fights and these are going to be people that I fight and this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it, and he calls everybody out and everybody's a dosser and everybody else is this and everybody else is that, and at the output at the end of it is he fights an MMA fighter, people are going to turn around and say, well, that's a load of old pony.
We'll
they
see
are, Frank, aren't they? You can get belligerent if you want, but they are, aren't they?
Well, I'm not being belligerent. You're being belligerent.
You're being a bit truculent.
I'm telling you that you will. I'm truculented out. We will see the proof of the pudding in October. You will see the proof of the pudding on October 28th. Whether people are fed up with him or not.
Yeah, but
if they don't buy it, then they're fed up with it.
I don't want to see a flan.
Well,
I want to see a souffle.
Okay. But you can only, listen to me, you can only fight people who want to fight you. You make the offers, they don't want to fight him. What can you do about it? I can't force them. We signed last October for the fight in December, and they never come up with the money to do the fight.
Okay, well, listen, this has been made, and tomorrow night Dubois goes in against Usyk, Frank. What can you promise us we're going to see? What kind of fight do you envisage?
I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think, you've got a young guy in there who really wants it. He believes in himself, and he believes this is his moment in time, and he's going to give everything he's got, and I think he will pull it off. And if he doesn't, he'll do his best. But I generally think he's going to win this fight, and whatever happens, we will get that unification so that we can keep you two guys happy and the rest of the people happy next year. It'll be early next year, guaranteed.
Good.
Guaranteed. You always keep us happy, Frank.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.